To the audience, please let's go.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mary Michelle. I'm from Uganda, but I live in Florida. In Uganda, whoever is from Uganda, I see a big group from Uganda. I thank you all for being here. It's not very easy to be here. It's not very easy to come to Utah. Professor, we thank you so much for the link and the connection and all you have done for us to be here and to present our country, because we are supposed to present our country. A brief history that would be fine. I am going to present why it matters and what is it we are talking about. The SDGs, the UN, and all the goals are saying, why does it matter? I am going to present on education. There was a student who was who did research with me and Professor Stigma back in Uganda. She was supposed to be here to present this because we wanted her to share the experience. Me coming from Florida, or having left Uganda 30 years ago, I don't think it makes that impact. We wanted that student to present this, and she didn't make it, so I am here on her behalf. For those who come from Uganda, I hail from Chiboga. Do you know Chiboga? Chiboga is one of those districts that, like Mr. Kaviye, you have said, that were left behind. In Chiboga, we make a joke that the chickens scratch. Chickens are supposed to be scratching backwards like this. Or people, you know you are farmers. So the chickens in Chiboga, they scratch like this. Meaning the backwardness of the district. Yes, brother, yes. The backwardness of the district. It is only 64 kilometers from the city. For those who know Museveni, it is only a few miles from his second home. And we do not have running water. We do not have electricity. On topping that, the illiteracy rate, because I know research and everyone else uses the word literacy. I do not use that. I use illiteracy. Our illiteracy rate in Chiboga is 98%. Can anyone imagine 98% of the population cannot read and cannot write? 64 kilometers from the city, a few miles from his second home. And on top of that, my communities that I serve, the illiteracy rate, I don't want you to guess, I will tell you, it's 100%. Meaning that when I go and sit in a meeting, over 300 people, for example, with my research, 300 people, no one can write or read in that meeting. When we do the roll call or the attendance sheet, one of my teachers or me, I have to sit down and write for them. That Museveni does not know, or many of our representatives. Why? Because we are not represented. There are no youth who are educated. There are not no women, no children, nobody. For us who managed to come out, we are in the States because that's where we are. But what we have done is very positive. What Professor Stigma has done is very positive. What I have done is very positive. And you are going all to excuse me. I might not go slide by slide.
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't care about the slide. I care about the experience. I care about what the UN should hear and should do for us. I hope there is a representative from the UN. I'm hoping. Nobody? And why am I in this room? If I came to represent Uganda and to let the UN hear our experience, Why am I here when there is no UN representative? I hope this is all recorded. I hope it will get to them.
Sure.
Let's make sure that it gets to them. So, back on my history again, I am just a regular worker. Every wage I send it to Uganda. I started a school because my community, remember, is 100% illiterate. So I built 2 schools. Before COVID, our schools had at least 400 children per year. We started in 2012. We are helping the children to come to school to learn to write and read for free. On my salary alone. Why? Because I cannot even qualify for a grant or a loan. I cannot qualify. I don't know why. Maybe the UN will tell us. So that is what I am doing in Uganda. I build schools, I educate children, I have a youth group, I have a women group. We learn a lot of stuff, and we help a lot of stuff. So back to the slide. I and our researchers and all the students and the community, we wanted to redefine education. The word education is becoming so watered down. We talk about education. We have degrees and we have diplomas. But we redefined our education. It's the process of receiving and giving systematic instruction, skills, empowerment, coach, train, develop, call it is education. Because my mom, God bless her soul, she came here so many years ago when she was 76. She didn't know how to write or read. Right now, you cannot beat her to do selfies and do videos and text everyone. That is education. At 87, she learned how to write and read. That is education. A woman in my village that I teach how to do soap, to make soap and sell it, that is education. When I teach them how to farm properly, that is education. When I teach them how to breastfeed, that is education. When I teach them how to take their HIV medications so that they don't spread HIV or they get healthy and raise their children, to me that is education. So cultivate, prepare individuals, groups, that is education. Enlightening experience of an individual or a group, that is education. Remember, with the UN SDGs, we are talking of quality education. Can I deny that in Chiboga we have schools? Oh, we have plenty of them. Children go in those schools, they all belong to the government, educate all. They go to the school, 7 years for elementary school, 7 years until they are 15 or 16. And when they come out, they cannot even read or write a complete English sentence. Then guess what? They get married. Then they produce children. They cannot send those children to school because they have no income. And by the way, our Uganda history, those women are married to a man who has 7 different wives in each separate city. So they produce those 7 children to this one woman. The man moves on, goes to another young woman, and this woman is the one responsible to raise these children. Wow. Guess what? She cannot send them to school. Then those children at 12 years old, 13, 14, they are going to get married. Please do not think those cultures don't belong, do not exist in Uganda. They do. Why do I know? I am the product of that. I was supposed to get married at 12. I am 90 pounds now. Imagine how much I was at 12. At 12, it was so much for my mother and my father to educate me. By the way, they didn't educate me. My grandmother educated me. But at 12, my father decided, go ahead, give her a man. She's ready to get married at 12. That still exists. Next slide, please. So, why are we talking about education? Why are we talking about coaching, skills training, awareness? Why are we talking about it? because it allows proper conceptualization of the baseline of living. The UN SDGs they are talking about, so many, the 17 points are great. But how can we get to them if we can't read them? How can, if we don't understand them? Conceptualization. How are we going to implement them if we cannot even understand them? The sustainable development begins with education. That is what I believe. If we don't start with educating all the population, we will not be able to deliver the 17 SDGs no matter what. Our foundation, KFI, by the way, my foundation is called Chiwanongo Foundation Inc. A friend of mine who works in the UN told me that I should change the name, and I said no. Or I should change it to an English name that appeals to everyone. And I said no. It is my concept. By the way, that name Chiwanongo, who can guess what it means? Chiwanongo. Chiwanongo. Chiwanongo means it's like a Utah Valley, a valley that is surrounded by mountains. But what it indicates that if you ever went to that area, you will never come back. Why? Because it is so remote, so cave-like, so backward, you will never come up. The word Chiwanongo. So that's why I want to leave it in my concepts. We, the Chiwanongo people, and the many people in the Chiboga district that I've met, we advise the UN that it is important to first make aware of all populations about the SDG goals, educating them, coaching them, sending them trained people to make them aware of the concepts of the SDGs. Another research I did briefly in our district, and I recently finished it in Kampala, in major good school, like St. Lawrence, like Buddo. We went around to ask, instantly to ask a student, hey, tell me about SDG. Do you know the word SDG? The child, huh? What are you talking about? We went around, we only found 2 students among the 28 students, and these are in expensive great schools. 2 students have ever heard of the SDG. And these are in the cities. Excellent schools. The rest of them have never heard of the SDGs. I have a full staff of 35 trained teachers, certified teachers. They have certificates from Kampala, from Ndete, from everywhere. They have never heard of a word SDG. So if you want to implement SDG goals, how do you start? How do you deliver them if the people do not know? So we advise, and I'm jumping forward and I'm going around because I do not have enough time to say whatever I wanted. We advise the UN to start at the grassroots level. Those 17 SDG goals all affect mostly the majority of the beneficiaries or the people who face those SDG issues are in the remote areas. So let the UN jump the rope, go to the grassroots, educate, make aware, coach, cultivate those us, the villagers, the youth, the women, all schools, and then from there will be no issue of not implementing the SDGs. SDG history, if anyone does not remember what SDG where it started with the UN in 2015. They came up with the idea that the SDGs lie or fall under the people, prosperity, the planet, peace, and the partnership. Those are very strong points. The people, we the people, the Chiboga people and the Ugandan people and the 98% illiterate people. We started in 2015. Right now it's 2022. We are looking at the target of 2030. So when are we going to go to Chiboga and Uganda to tell them about our concepts as the UN? So people, prosperity, we want the UN wants everyone to benefit from this. The planet, we want to conserve the planet. If you have not realized, we are going under. It might not be you, it might not be in our lifetime, but the planet Earth, the beautiful mother planet Earth, is going under if we do not check our practices. The ocean, the pollution, the plastic, we are going under. Peace. The UN wants everyone to have peace. But look at Ukraine. Look at Uganda. Look at everywhere else. Do we have peace? Partnership. This is a big one. Does the UN really partner with us? If they did, I wouldn't be standing here. Because my people do not know the word SDG. That means UN has not reached many parts of the world. So if Chiboga, if Mary Michelle, if my teachers, if Professor Sajinja teachers and all the groups he has in the Katosi, if they have never heard of SDG, then where is the UN? When is it going to get to the grassroots? And there are stakeholders in these concepts. One, the government should do its job, the civil society, the private sector, and the beneficiaries, who are those people that should get the services of the 17 SDGs. So, in implementing the SDGs, the UN did projects, initiatives, advocates, knowledge sharing, monitoring. That was all done. Where was it done? Where? Should we be here now? No. Next slide, please. The stakeholders again, the high top, this is the hierarchy, the UN, the government, civil societies, private sectors, beneficiaries, and all that. But if this was supposed to take place, we, the civil society people, we should have helped a lot. Because we are at the grassroots level. We have the knowledge of the people. We are skilled. We speak the language. Go to Taiwan, throw a UN delegate there, teach the Taiwan people in their own language. By the time you know, SDGs will be done. Go to Chiboga, speak the Uganda. Go to Hoima, go to Katosi, speak their language, and teach them one by one. We would all be done by for the last so many years. And the SDG major focus was focusing on the impoverished, less privileged groups: women, children and youth, indigenous people, non-government organizations, local authorities, workers, trade unions, and that. Most of them are in the Western world and others in the developing countries. But most of them, except the ones on the bottom, the ones on the top have not even heard of the word SDGs. What are the effects of lack of education? And please remember, we are talking of quality education. We are not talking of Chiboga schools that the children stay for 7 years in school and they cannot write and read. That's not what we are talking about. We have that already, so we don't need it anymore. Physiological and psychological, as an individual, as one person, but remember that one person makes a family, and that family makes a community makes a nation makes a global community. The UN is teaching us, is pushing us, is telling us to become a global community. How can we sit at the global table? One, we are not allowed to sit on it. We don't get visas to sit on the table. We are not given a word on the table. We are put in a building like this to speak about our issues, when there is another bigger building on the other side where we would have met the UN delegates and tell them our issues. So we are not even allowed at the table. So that one individual who is not educated, that one individual who does not understand the word SDG is going to meet the family does not understand. We are going to meet the community like Chiboga that it doesn't understand. Then we make the Ugandan community, the nation, does not understand, then we are going to join the global community. We cannot join the global community because we are left behind. We are not, we are left behind. We become social, economical, and institutional and political. All these, our lack of knowledge, your lack of knowledge of understanding the SDGs, and I'm not talking about what you know. We are focusing on individual, local, national, and the global issues. And we are talking of SDG, nothing else here. So these are all affected. In the end, the economy is affected. Imagine, Professor Sejinja comes from Mukono, and most of you come from different districts of Uganda and everywhere else. Imagine if all of us here have trillions of people behind us that are on our level. Imagine the economy. Imagine the wages. Imagine the infrastructure we could have done. Imagine the small things I have done in Chiboga, or Professor Tsejinja has done in Mukono, or all of you have done wherever you are. Imagine if that was multiplied by the trillion number. We wouldn't be suffering. We wouldn't be starving. We wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't have gender inequalities and all that. But that is life. So my major issues, this is, of course, I'm speaking on behalf of the angry mob of Chiboga. So, it's a mob, but they are quiet. Why? Because they are oppressed. Because they don't know. And my voice is triggered because of the anger I feel for them. Because they are sitting back, as Ugandan tradition, as Katie will find out, they are sitting back and they say, okay, we're going to select Dr. Museveni again because we've been peaceful for so many years. And when he passes by, we put flowers on the road, we celebrate, yeah. And that is how they are. They don't know that they are cutting their forests, rainforests, to make a charcoal, to cook food. They are dying of malnutrition, they are dying of HIV, while the medications are in the pharmacy. HIV is spreading because they are not taking their medication. When the free medications are in the pharmacy, they are not aware. No one teaches them. That is the problem. So, gender discrimination continues. As anyone might know or might support, in Uganda, we teach more boys than girls. Why? Because boys and the men are more important than the women. The women are there to produce offsprings. The men are there to govern and produce offsprings. So you cannot produce alone. And that is an old culture. It is still there. Of course, it wears a blue-colored shirt. It is spoken in a different language. It is glamorized. And it is beautiful. It sounds beautiful. But it is still oppressive. Urban access versus rural access to education. All of you from Uganda can tell me and can affirm to this that the most expensive, nice, beautiful schools are all in the bigger cities and around Kampala. What I am also happy about and very appreciative about is that those institutions are, most of them are private. Most of them are religious based. A few are government. I doubt if they are functioning properly. But the private sector has done a great job in education. And we are very, very grateful for that. But poor Chiboga and the poor Mukono, they do not have great schools. We have to transport our children to Kampala and to pay through our nose for them to be educated. Why not in Chiboga? So the SDG stopped, their goals and their initiatives stopped in Museveni's office. They stopped in maybe 1 or 2 schools in Kampala. In Chiboga, I have never seen a representative for SDG. I've tried to even contact them, they blocked me. So I gave up. So urban access, as compared to rural access to education, is very, very limited. In Uganda, we only have education in the rural areas. And then I think I put somewhere there that the percentage of 74% of the population live in rural areas. So 36% is in the city. And some of that is people, if we are talking of children, much of those are homeless and they live under the bridge, and the privileged ones go to school, but those privileged ones are not going to help the 74% of the rural area. We have limited or lack of funds to teach the grassroots levels, to teach the rural areas about the SDGs. And the UN representative would sit here and say, oh no, we sent money to Museveni. Museveni, forgive me, I'm not speaking your name, but I'm my president. The money, I believe, was sent. It's nowhere to be sent. There is no office. There is no representation. There is no contact. Do we know who is the SDG in Uganda? I failed to find out. Improper dissemination of SDG guidelines. We try, we the local people, we the private organization, the community-based organization, we are trying to reach the table to be part of, to be included in the guidelines, because they are talking about us. Chiboga people, Masaka people, they're talking about the rural areas, impoverished populations, but we are not even on the table to suggest. And then we come to tell them, we travel all the, I traveled from Kampala to Europe to Rome to come here to do this presentation. And thank you. And I tried to bring the youth leader from Chiboga to present this, and they see where we are. We are in a building where there is not even one UN representative. That is not acceptable.
When did she come? She was denied a visa.
Why didn't she come? She was denied a visa. That she does not qualify to get a visa to come to speak of her experience. Those are the issues we have. Those are white-collared oppression. That's what I call it. So, because if she was given a visa, she would, do you believe me? UN is looking like, we don't believe you. And I wouldn't blame them. I'm an American. I've been here 30 years. What do I know about a girl in Chiboga? But if she was here by herself, probably it would have made more impact. But I also want to make an impact. I am that girl who was supposed to be married at 12. And I made it out of Chiwonongo where the chickens do like this instead of like this, so I made it out. Anyway, so what are the civic outcomes of our lack of education, lack of awareness, lack of skill training, lack of empowering women and young girls and the youth? UN should put their focus, or our focus. We should put our focus on children. We should put our focus on youth. We should put our focus on women, because they are the pillars of development. And I'm not forgetting men. The reason I'm not forgetting men, they've been there already. So we need now to bring their partners, the children and the youth and the women, so we can all be on the table and discuss development. The contribution of the outcomes of education will increase local, national, and global development. These effects can be negative, or lack of education can be negative or positive, but we are right now we are focusing on the negative ones. And the people who are educated are more likely to know and understand elements of their responsibility as citizens. Another example I can quickly give you: why would a man in Uganda marry 7 women and produce 35 children? That is a real number. My father had 25, and many of them we don't know where they are.
It's our culture.
It is a culture. It is our culture. But is that the culture we need to breed forward?
Yes.
We need to. That's another discussion. So, and you form.
She's like, really?
Yeah, you wanna go to Uganda and get married to a man with 7 other different women? What we are trying to say is an informed citizen makes better decisions. That is important. What do we suggest? Maybe? Yes. Yes. So, we need to educate all populations, starting from the grassroots, not starting from the government offices. Because the government offices are already educated. Sorry if I'm too close to you. They are already educated, they already have masters, they already have know the SDGs. We should refocus our goals back to grassroots level. We need to engage people in the rural populations. We need this, and if UN is listening, wherever you are, you need to go back to that. Because our governments are corrupt. Why didn't the money go to the villages? Because it is sitting somewhere else in a Swiss bank. And they're sending their children to big universities so they can get degrees that they will never use. So, we want the government to go back to community-based organizations. Uganda has thrived. Uganda has thrived because of religious, Christian, whatever organization that is coming up. The Muslims have built universities. The Seventh-day Adventists, Catholics, everyone, Protestants have built universities and excellent schools. And that is how Uganda has thrived, because of the education system that is managed by Christianity or religious groups. So we need to refocus back to community-based organization, because we understand the language, we know our people, we know their problems, we are educated enough or trained enough to bring forward what we need as SDG implementation. And the UN, I do not want to leave this behind. I want them to hold the government accountable.
Thank you.
Why are they holding the governments accountable? If you gave $1 trillion to the government and told them to build certain projects, a year later they give you fake reports. Instead of 10 projects, there is 1 project, but the report says all of them are done. Everybody is happy. And then UN sits back and says, oh, well done in 7. Or another president. So we need the UN to hold the governments accountable, and if they violate the codes, to really penalize them. Who can't be penalized? Penalize them. We need to revise, we need the UN to involve us, to sit on the table and revise the guidelines, because they are not delivering the implementation like they wanted. We need to ask them to train people, so that those people can go back to the community and educate people. We need to be included in all these guidelines, because it is all about us. It is about a global citizen, but our global citizen is not informed. We need to go back to the nation and the local communities and the families. We need to train them. How can we achieve this very, very quickly? By training the children in the schools. All schools should learn SDGs. By training the youth. The youth are so, what is the percentage of the youth? 75?